Welcome. This is the Real Estate Investing Mastery Podcast. Hey everybody, welcome to the Real Estate Investing Mastery Podcast. Really glad you're here. It's going to be an exciting call. This is part 2 of our call with Ken. Go to our website, realestateinvestingmastery.com, and you can get our Fast Cash Survival Kit. And a lot of the stuff we have in there is stuff that we're going to be talking about today with Ken, using virtual assistants, the importance of marketing, how to wholesale deals virtually. You know, we're going to talk to Ken, and I'm sure, Ken, you don't go look at every house that you get under contract. Am I right?
Oh, you're absolutely correct. It would be too many.
It would be too many.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, right. So, you know, Ken is crushing it right now. I mean, I'm going to guess, Ken, that you do 10 to 20 deals a month
Yes,
in the Baltimore area.
correct. Baltimore and Maryland area.
You just dropped 10,000 yellow letters. Guys, this is not postcards, which you get an average response rate of maybe 2 to 3%. These are yellow letters. You get an average response rate of maybe 8 to 10%.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's got the systems in place to handle those calls. That's going to be about 900 to 1,000 phone calls from those letters this month. So he's doing some crazy things, and he's insane enough to do it and talk with us about it, which is awesome. Alex couldn't be on the call. He's on his way to meet a seller on a really, really big deal. He called me right before we started this podcast, and he said he was so excited about this deal. And so if he meets with the seller in about 15 minutes. So I told him to call me when he's leaving if it's really a deal, and he'll tell us all about it on the podcast here. So that'll be interesting. I'm kind of, you know, when he told me, I was real happy for him, but I was also like really jealous because I'm like, man, the numbers are so good on this deal. I mean, it's worth, the county appraises it for about $290. The seller just wants to walk away with $45,000. And obviously it's going to be a huge rehab, but he said, I don't care. I'll just tear the house down and build a new one on there. It's such good property in a prime location. You know, he could, anyway. So I'm like, dang, man, how come he gets all the good deals? You know, like
Right.
I want those kinds of, but that's what happens when you do a lot of marketing, man. I mean, Alex does a lot of marketing. He's been doing it for a long time. And who knows, this is probably some seller that got his postcard 6 months ago and just kept it, maybe got his second or third postcard, and finally decided, yeah, I'll give him a call. And so that's good. I mean, when you do this long enough, you're going to get those kinds of deals. Ken, what's one of the biggest deals you've ever done?
One of the biggest deals I've done was I did a townhome in Baltimore in which I made 90,000 on.
Nice.
And I was similar situation. Somebody just really wanted to get out of it. They didn't live in the area, so they didn't know that the market had changed. And they owned the house for a number of years. There was an out-of-state seller, out-of-state investor, and they had been renting the house for years, owned it outright, and they just didn't want to pay the taxes, and didn't want to have to deal with trying to find another renter to move into the property.
Okay.
So they didn't know about the area, what was going on. They lived in the state, and I was able to get the property from them, renovate it, and then sell it to a buy and hold investor for a lot more. And not one right there, I actually made 90,000 on that one.
Nice. But
I was really, really happy about that.
you went in and added some value to the property.
Correct. What I did was I reverse engineered and found what an investor was looking for. And the investor was looking for a buy and hold property that would generate a certain amount of return. And they was already approved for a certain amount. And I knew that this house renovated in this area would give them what they're looking for.
Okay.
So I went in, got this house, renovated, brought it up, and was able to sell it to them. And that was my total profit.
Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Yeah, it was really good. And it worked out well for them as well.
Nice. Well, good. Ken, we have a lot to still talk about. We had a great interview yesterday in part 1, and we talked about how you set up your virtual assistant team and some of the systems and tools you use. I'd like to get into more detail on the marketing you do and what your VAs actually do. Like, what do they say to sellers? Do they answer the calls live or do they go to voicemail and some things like that?
Mhm.
So I guess let's talk about some of the marketing that you do. What are your favorite forms of marketing?
My favorite forms of marketing are actually yell letters. I like yell letters because they give me the highest rate of return.
Hmm.
Like you mentioned, they on average of 10%. I also do postcard mailings. I do the actually post-it notes where I have on the post-it note, please feel free to call me about your house. And I have people just take the post-it notes and just walk down a desired neighborhood that I want to target and just post it and just stick it on the wall, on the front door of the
On
people's home.
on every door?
Yep.
Wow. Okay,
It
so
went
where do you go to print those?
Actually, I go to Vistaprint to print some of those type of what I'm looking for. There's also a print warehouse out here called Apple Press that actually prints a lot of things that we're looking for that are unique, in which they have a printing press and they can print out and be creative. I don't know what I'm looking for. It's kind of unique in that how it all got started into this creative designing is it was some years ago. Now I'm not sure if where you're at, but have you ever been out and you've seen like there may be like an event or a nightclub or something that's going on, and
Hmm.
they'll have these like postcards inside of people's windshields to say, "Hey, come to this event or come to this right here."
Yeah.
So, okay, so I saw one of those. And I said, wow, this person right here is very creative in the way they design this, and they have some means of distribution.
Hmm.
So I contacted the person who created those and actually went to their office, and they were doing so many different types of creative marketing, and they had people who would go and put those out. So that was how I was able to get a system to design some creative forms of printing as well as means of distribution.
Nice. So your post-it note, is it
Hmm.
just a regular size post-it note?
Yes, it is
And
just a regular size post-it note.
and what does it say on there?
It'll say, hello, I would like to buy your house. Please call me at, and it had the number.
Nice. And then you get a good response rate with that?
Yes, now the good thing about this is I have all these calls going into my VA
Hmm.
because sometimes you'll get calls, people will tell you, they'll call you everything but what's on your birth certificate.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it. Okay.
Right, and so and so that can, we're all human and we, have tough skin in this business, but I really only want to focus on the warm leads. So I
Hmm.
have all that filtered through my VAs. And so those numbers are my call fire number, and that gets transferred to my VAs. They answer those calls.
Now, do those all your marketing, does it all go to a live, somebody answers it live, or does it go to voicemail that kind of pre-screens them out? What do you do there?
And they all go to someone live. I found that when they go to a voicemail, there's a drop-off rate because not everybody leaves a voicemail. And then if we try to call them back based upon the missed call, it's sort of touch and base. It's touch and go. You're calling back someone and you don't have a name, and you're saying, "Did someone call about selling a house?" And it could be a different family member answer the phone, and they could say, "No, I don't know what you're talking about," and that could be a missed opportunity.
Okay.
So my calls go to live calls. The only time they go into a voicemail is if someone's on the phone and a call comes in while they're on the phone talking to someone else.
Okay.
Then they go to the voicemail.
Have you ever tested sending in your marketing, including the message that says, just call our 24-hour recorded voicemail to see what this is all about or something like that?
I've tried things similar and I've had a drop off rate. It's just from my experience, I haven't. Nothing is converts as high as someone answering the call. By
Okay.
default, if they can't answer the call, then I had to go into voicemail that kind of pre-screens. Now, what I've also found is text messaging. Text marketing works well also because sometimes a person is apprehensive about calling and speaking to someone live. They want to find out, they want something more or less evasive.
Okay.
So what I found is the next best thing for me is to have in there call or text me at, and I receive a lot of text messages regarding that as well.
That's interesting. I always flip flop on the issue. I've
Hmm.
done it where it's gone live or it's gone just to a regular short voicemail. Lately, I'm a big fan of all my marketing. It just says call our 24-hour recorded hotline to learn more about this or whatever. And I seem to get more calls by doing that. I get about
Hmm.
two to three times the calls,
Hmm.
and then I still get about the same number of people that would leave a message as I would talk to live. So I need to test it more, but
Hmm.
all of my friends are telling me you got to answer the phones live as well. So I don't
Right.
know. It's
I guess
go ahead.
it's almost like you say, six in one hand, half dozen in the other. I can understand why the market would call to know there's going to be a recording,
Hmm.
and from my experience, giving them the option to text satisfies that non-evasive of somebody wanting to find out without having to be committed.
Interesting.
So, and this society and culture we're in now, we communicate way differently than how we communicated before. With all of the Instagram, Pinterest,
Hmm.
uh, you know, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, you named it. We're communicating in so many ways that are not face to face and that are not person to person or over the phone. That given an opportunity to communicate in that medium, a person seems to respond well to it.
I'm writing that down. I'm going to test that. I'm going to add texting to the
Hmm.
letters.
Actually, I did. I have a leasing company in which I sold. In the leasing company, we were getting applicants to fill houses. So the buy and hold investors had. So we would put on there, call us for an application or for a showing, and we had a certain ratio. When we put in all of our ads, call or text, we increased it by like 30%.
Wow.
People just wanted to find out information before committing to a call.
Interesting. Okay. So the post-it note, I like that idea, and I've done that before, and I got good results with it. That
Mm-hmm.
was when I was buying a lot of homes subject to, and I don't do that anymore. I'm not a huge fan of subject twos, but
Mm-hmm.
I've not done that since, and I've been thinking a lot about doing it again. I used to buy postcards, post-it notes. I used to buy post-it notes from this website called thediscountprinter.com.
Mm-hmm.
Thediscountprinter.com, and Richard Roop is a real estate investor educator, a guru, and he's a really good copywriter. He's written a lot of good copy for marketers, and so he wrote a post-it note that is really good that you put on people's doors, and it's small print. It's not just a big. It almost looks like those notices that sometimes the UPS store leaves on your door when they leave
Right.
something.
See, that was the intention to make it look like a UPS note that someone like you missed a
Yes.
package type
But if
thing.
somebody's interested in
Right.
looking at that, you just Google Richard Roop Post-it Note, um, or go do well, yeah, just do Richard Roop, Roop as in Peter, Richard Roop Post-it Note, and you'll see in the results there a website from the discountprinter.com, I think. And I think if you also if you Google that, just also go to the images. And if you click on images, you'll see an image of the actual post-it note. But anyway, it does work. And if you have a target market, it works really well in an area that you have a lot of buyers that want properties in those areas.
Mm-hmm.
Do that. And I have a guy that I found similar to you. He delivers a lot of stuff for pizza companies, or he hangs things on doors.
Right.
He loves my post-it notes because they're so easy, right? He can fit 1,000, like 3,000 of them in his pockets. And he's
Mm-hmm.
got a team of 5 guys, and they'll bang out. It's amazing to me. They'll do 5,000 doors in a couple hours,
Oh yeah.
and it's surprising how small of an area that is actually too. But
I know that's pretty quick.
yeah, it only charges 8 cents a post-it note. So my cost to print the post-it note I think was about 11 cents, and then to deliver them was about 8 cents. So it's about 19 cents to do these post-it notes, and it's cheaper to do that than it would be to blanket a neighborhood with postcards.
Exactly.
Believe it or not.
That kind of reminds me, Joe, of when I went to the day laborers and I found individuals there that were looking for work. And so what I did was hired a gentleman who had a pickup truck and hired him at a rate of $10 an hour and hired two additional workers that worked in the back of the pickup truck and hired them at a rate of $9 an hour
Huh.
and had them go and canvass the neighborhood with either the post-it notes or the postcards that I created. So I didn't have to go for mailing. Now, you can't put them in the postcard. You can't put them in a mailbox,
Yeah.
but you can put them in front of the door. And so when I did the whole campaign, to send out the letters would have cost me about $1,100 to send out 1,000 letters, shipping, design and so forth. When I did the same campaign but used the day laborers, it came up to a little less than 300. And I was able to
Gosh.
hit that area and get calls. So if we start the marketing, let's say they started at noon, by 1 o'clock, I was getting phone calls like, "Hey, somebody just put this in front of my door. What's going on?" I said, "Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah."
You know when the post-it notes hit because you start getting flooded with calls. And you may wonder, well, how will I know that they actually delivered them? Well, you'll know by getting the calls,
You're
but
right.
you can also just drive the neighborhood, and it's really easy to spot these big yellow post-it notes on
Hmm.
people's doors. But yeah,
Right.
you will get angry calls.
Oh,
You gotta be prepared for that. You'll get realtors. You should tell your guys, don't put these post-it notes on a house that has a realtor sign
right.
in front of
Exactly.
it. That'll really tick some people off. And, oh my gosh, don't get me started on that. But we don't want to tick off the realtors. Okay, they're
No, no, no.
sensitive. They're emotional. You just got to treat them with care and
And they need
leave
to
them
come.
alone. They'll leave you alone.
Right. Right.
So anyway, the okay. So are you only making offers to buy these properties, or how do you structure your offers? Do you do lease options or owner financing to buy properties?
What I do first is I have them go for the low hanging fruit. So the low hanging fruit are ones in which we can create a spread for a wholesale deal.
Mm-hmm.
Then from the low-hanging fruit, because we need some quick wins, some quick hits. As I may mention, the pay structure that I have on my team, and they're looking to get that commission check. So
Yeah.
they can get the easier commission check off of a quick hit where they know the numbers make sense to do a wholesale. Then from there, we go back and revisit the other ones that may require more understanding or more finessing, so to speak, to create a deal.
Okay.
And those are the ones going to be more the lease options, rent to own, or some type of structured financing.
Okay. How do you structure those deals then? And well, first of all, let me ask you, what percent of your deals that you do are regular traditional wholesaling and then other creative stuff?
Okay. So as I mentioned, on 1,000 letters, the average are two deals that close on per thousand. And those two that close are the quick hits. Those are the two wholesale deals that usually close from numbers per thousand. So on a direct mail campaign where I'm using yellow letters per thousand, the average is 10% of the I get calls from. That's the average. So that
Yeah.
means I usually about 100 calls. And from those 100 calls, there are usually two wholesale deals that come from that. Sometimes it may be three, sometimes it may be one, but the average is two quick wholesale deals.
Right.
Those two quick wholesale deals usually give everybody we all need quick wins. We all need momentum to keep going through. As I mentioned, my team, I have 8 staff members overseas working in an office for a total of $8 per hour,
Right.
all of them. So they're working to get that quick close. They can get anywhere from $250 to $500 commission to the whole team.
Right.
So once they get those two quick hits, that could be $1,000 they've made. So then from there, it's easier to go back. And now let's look at the ones that were closed, but for some reason we couldn't make it work. Maybe
Well,
that could be something we could structure a financing on.
real quick, you pay the 250 to 500 for the whole team or the person who got the deal?
No, I paid it to the whole team
Okay. All right.
and the whole team. So my manager that I have over there, he'll take the $500 and deal with it appropriately amongst the team.
Okay. All right. So talk about the deals that don't turn into quick wholesale deals.
Right, the deals that don't turn into quick wholesale deals, those are going to require some more personality, more relationship building, more
Okay.
structuring to figure out if it's not a deal now, can it be a deal later? Is something that's retail that I can then in turn leverage one of my realtors that I work with, or just something that there's not really enough room in there to make a flip, but it's more of a buy and hold. And if it's more of a buy and hold, can I in turn create a rent to own option with it and structure something with the owner that way? These are going to require a higher knowledge of real estate to make these deals work in more time. So that's how I'll work on the other ones.
Okay. And when you structure the more creative financing deals, like owner financing, maybe you do subject twos or rent to owns, are you still flipping those? Or are you keeping those long term?
I'm still, it all depends because the market changes and my needs change. If I'm looking for something at that time to as a buy and hold, then I may keep it in-house. If someone in my network is looking for something like that right there and it fits their area and criteria, then I may flip it to them for a small fee. So it changes. There's not really a set rule. The time of the year, there's some cycles in real estate, and there's cycles in the year like this. I've found that certain times I'm more in agreement with doing a renovation, which is usually in the earlier part of the year, so that way I can have it sold by summer and spring.
Okay.
Um, then there's certain times where I'm maybe looking to do more of a buy and hold or so in my environment. I really stress the importance of going to local meetings and networking with other real estate investors because that's who you find out who's in your community and what they're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And if something doesn't fit what you have, what you want, it may be ideal for someone else.
Interesting. Yeah, and that's what I wanted to talk with you more about too. You have a local mastermind, kind of a group that you coach
Hmm.
there, and you do a lot of deals with your clients, which I think is awesome. Okay, so the lease options, how do you structure those deals? Can you talk a little bit about, because lease options have always been near and dear to my heart.
Hmm.
I love lease options, but how do you structure lease options?
Okay. So the way I structure a lease option is I'll look at the home and find out first what type of environment or what type of home this is in because I'm a firm believer in that every house is going to attract a certain type of resident. I mean, no matter how nice the home is, where it's located, it's only going to attract a certain type of family or person to move in. So I'm looking for homes that are going to be less hands-on, homes that are going to require individuals that understand the homeowner mindset.
Hmm.
Someone that's going to come in that understands that, hey, they're working on a lease with option and they understand that they're going to take care of the property and that they're going to do what's needed to be able to purchase property at a later time. So the property must fit in the area that I can market to that type of client
Right,
first.
right.
That's the first thing.
So you're only looking for nice homes in nice neighborhoods.
Exactly. I'm not going to try and make something fit that doesn't fit
Hmm.
because the one thing, as investors we value is our time.
Yeah.
And even though I've gotten the first quick hits from wholesales, I'm not going to spend too much time on something that's not going to yield me the return for my time I'm looking for.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm going to look for a house that's in a relatively nicer neighborhood um, that doesn't require a lot of work, that will allow me to market to the individual that's looking for the lease with option.
Right. Okay.
And then on that situation, what I've done in the past is I've created an agreement with the owner that will allow me to sublet the property and allow me to pay them a certain percentage for the that they pay for mortgage. And then I will in turn sublet the property to the person for rent to own for what will be the going rate for rent. And there are various websites. A site that I use a lot is Rental Meter to get me an understanding of what the rents go for in that area.
Okay.
So I go to rentalmeter.com, put in that address, and say, okay, this house over here rents very easily for $2,100. And then I, in turn, ask the homeowner, what is your mortgage note? What do I need to cover this? And since mortgages are a lot less than, on average, what it costs to rent a property, I'm usually able to keep a spread in between there.
Okay. And are you looking to hold the property or to wholesale it as a rent to own?
Once again, Joe, it all varies depending on my strategy. Right now, I'll be looking to wholesale it.
Okay. And so if you were going to wholesale it, well,
Mhm.
typically I'd guess you would probably be more inclined to keep the properties that have cash flow. right?
Correct.
And
The properties have cash flow, I'm looking to keep those. If it's in, and due to my network, some individuals are saying, hey, I love this area and I'm willing to pay a premium because I want to keep all my properties in this area.
okay, they don't necessarily care about cash flow. They're looking
Hmm.
for long-term
Right.
appreciation, long-term growth.
Looking for long-term appreciation, long-term growth. And when I'm dealing in this volume, as I may mention, my mailing this month is 10,000 letters. So I've come to realize that, how as a kid, when you go to the smorgasbord, sometimes you put so much food on your plate and you can't eat it all. So I've seen so many good deals that I'm no longer at the place where my eyes are bigger than my stomach.
Okay,
There are 1,000 good deals out there every day. It is a matter of me getting them.
okay, good, good. I love it. By the way, I found that Richard Root Post-it note right
Oh, you
here in
did?
Google. Yeah.
Oh, okay,
And
cool.
it just says, attention homeowner, our company is now seeking to purchase several houses in your neighborhood. I won't read this whole thing, but
Okay.
are you looking to sell soon? Your home has been identified as a good candidate for our real estate buying needs. When we become your buyer, you can sell your house as is for a fair price on the date of your choice, etc., etc. And if there's an interest, he says at the end, do you have any interest? If so, listen to our 24-hour recorded message at, or read our special report online at the website.
Hmm.
And interesting. So the post-it notes work. They
Hmm.
they really work. And I just wrote myself a note. I'm going to start doing that again.
Yeah, the funny thing is, they all work. Is what I've learned in my personal experience is how much are we going to stick to it,
Hmm.
and then also what I learned in my own personal experience is what best fit us. Like each of us have a different something that we like differently, something that we say, okay, this is something that I love to do. So what I look to do is make real estate a way that it it stays my passion and what I love. So that's why I have the VAs work through all the deals. So I only deal with the hot leads. And
Okay.
so my expertise come in on that part. So I rarely hear people say, from my probate marketing and so forth, I rarely hear people, beat me up and call me everything but my name on that. I usually just get the ones where it requires my expertise to come in and wrap it up.
Right. Good, good, good. Okay, so let's talk about FSBO marketing, for sale by owner marketing. You talked about this the other day. You tell your VA, when there's not many calls coming in with your letters,
Mm-hmm.
you have your VAs go to Craigslist, go to FSBO sites, and they go out and look for deals. And what what talk about that a little bit more. What are you having them look for?
What I have them do is I have them go on to websites such as Craigslist or Zillow for sale by owner websites and look for first call them up and ask them about the home they have listed, and then to look for keywords to find out if the person is a wholesaler or not. Because having these websites, and Craigslist is one of them, which we're able to go and we have actually bought homes from Craigslist and have wholesaled them. But the key is to find out if this is an actual homeowner or if this is another wholesaler acting as acting as if they are a homeowner.
Right. Okay.
And I use this to fill in because there may be a day or two out of the week, depending upon what week of the month it is, that the direct mail marketing may not be calls may not be coming in quite as much.
Yeah.
And so what I'll have them do first is if the calls from the direct mailers campaign is starting to say become less that day, is to go and do follow-up calls on the ones where the person didn't seem quite as motivated as we needed them to be, to follow up on them first.
Okay. Okay.
And then after they follow up on them, and then also the follow up along the calls where they've left a message and we have been able to catch up with them.
Okay.
And after all those have been followed up, then we'll go to the for sale by owners.
Okay. And you just go into Craigslist and different for sale by owner sites and you call them up. What kind of questions do your VAs ask?
They pose the question as though they're looking to buy the home, and that questionnaire sheet is on that website that I sent through as far as in the VA script. They ask them questions about the layout of the home. They ask them questions about, what does the person need? That's really important. That framing of that question of what does the person need for the home as opposed to what they want starts off the negotiations at a much lower dollar value when you ask the person what do they need. Then they let them know what they need for number-wise, and then they go through and ask them about the condition of the property. They ask them first, are they the homeowner on title?
Okay.
And that's where we can find out usually if it's a wholesaler or not. We also go and look up online to find out who's the homeowner on title and to make sure that the person that gave us that name is the actual name that's registered online.
Okay.
Then we take that information and then begin asking them questions. And we also go look up the tax assessor value. Here in Maryland, the tax assessor value of a home is usually a lot less than the actual value of the home.
Okay.
And we use that along with Google Street Maps to get an idea of the canvas of the neighborhood. So the VAs, being in a different country, are able to use the tax assessor's value, the websites to find out who actually owns the home, and Google Street Maps to hold a conversation with the homeowner in real time.
Okay. Makes sense. So you're looking for motivation.
So yes, you're absolutely correct. So we're asking them, what are they looking for to sell? And always speaking to that motivation. Is it taxes? They don't want to have to pay the taxes on the house, or they have a young one that's about to get ready to go to college and they need some extra money. Is it that the house has become vacant and being vandalized and they want to get rid of it? So we could always touch back on that, on what's important to them, because that's what's more important is speaking to them with where they're at.
Right. Okay. And then, do you ever call landlords properties that are listed for rent in Craigslist?
Now, we don't call landlords the properties listed for rent, except when we're doing reverse engineering. Now, we only call landlords or go to the subsidized websites, where they have Section 8 or some type of subsidy program.
Okay.
And the landlords are actually posting houses that they have for sale. We go there when we're looking for buyers.
Okay.
So if we have some of the leasehold options that we mentioned about earlier, or some of the deals that may be a good buy and hold, we'll go look for the landlords or those who own properties in that same area and let them know that we have a property they may be interested in. It's not too far from one they currently own.
Okay. But you never contact landlords who are listing their houses for rent and ask them if they want to sell?
No, I haven't. I've done that in the past, but here recently, with what I have going on, I've only contacted them to see if they wanted to buy. I haven't contacted them to see if they wanted to sell.
You might think about doing that. I've been doing that for years. I've had pretty good success with it. It doesn't work as well as postcards and letters, direct mail, but it's still a good method. I've been doing that for years, and I even created a little mini course about that whole topic. If anybody's interested in listening to this, if you go to onehourleads.com, 1hourlead with an S, leads.com, you can see more information about that. And that's something that, you could easily have your VAs do. And sometimes you could send voicemails or text messages to those landlords and say, hey, I saw your rental property on Craigslist. You wouldn't have any interest in selling it, would you? And then you only are talking to the ones who respond to that. And then you talk to them about, what they need to sell it for. And if they want too much money, then you offer a lease option on it or something like that. But
Okay.
Cool. All right.
That's cool. That reminds me. Have you heard of that website called that app called Slide Dial?
Yes, I use it.
We've used that on similar strategies where we want to contact a number of homeowners in a particular that the message would be similar to.
Okay.
And actually, we use that slide dial strategy for that right there. So that does work. I agree with you on that.
Cool. One thing I forgot to ask you, we were talking about direct mail. What kind of lists do you like to mail to?
I like to mail to non-owner occupied list, and it's very important that there is at least 70% equity in the property.
Okay.
And I like non-owner occupied because there's less emotional attachment to the property, so it's easier to negotiate from that standpoint.
Okay.
Also, with PIFA laws and a variety of different laws of foreclosures and so forth, I don't really run into any challenges there because it's not owner occupied. Even if the investor owns a home and they're behind, then they don't live in it. And I also look for 70% equity in the property because, in fact, if I go too high, yeah, I may get a larger list, but the seller may not be able to go lower in price point to meet what I need to acquire it because their mortgage is too high.
Hmm.
So I usually stay with 70% from 0 to 70%.
I like to mail to people who bought their house between 2008 and 2012.
Mm.
So from 2 to, what is that now? 8, 6 years. What is that? 6 years. 2 to 6 years ago, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why is real simple. Most investors who bought a home between 2007, 2008, and now paid cash. They couldn't get
Right.
financing on those properties. Banks
Oh,
just
okay.
aren't lending to investors, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of investors are ignoring that list. Not many
Mm-hmm.
people are mailing to them. Usually when investors are mailing to absentee owners, they're going to look to make sure that they bought the house over 10 years ago, or
Mm-hmm.
they're going to look for some of the older property owners. But I don't know. It's something that's worked pretty well. I just like to, I don't want to chase the same leads everybody else is chasing.
Right.
We've,
No, I see
we've,
what you're saying.
we've done pretty well with that. I know another guy who mails to he calls them the don't wanters, the
Okay.
don't wanters. These are people who have been transferred, either had a quitclaim deed, or had a property sold to them for like under $1,000 in the last 2 years. So he
Hmm.
takes his favorite zip codes. He looks to see any properties that have been transferred ownership in the last 2 years, and the sale price has either been zero, blank, or it's under $1,000. Because a lot of people when they inherit property,
Mm-hmm.
um, they'll transfer deed, and either it's $0 or sometimes they'll sell it to them for a cheap amount, for $100 or something like that. And so those are called the don't wanters, and you'll be surprised how many of those kinds of leads you find.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Wow.
some,
That's pretty good.
something to think about. And then of
Yeah.
course are you able to go in and find out who's delinquent on property taxes?
No, I haven't queried it down that far. I've just queried the list based upon the amount of equity in the property and picking
Yeah.
the desired zip codes. I've learned that I pick the areas where I get the most return, where it's sort of in the middle, not where the value is very high.
Okay.
And because in those areas, I've usually found that people's motivation to sell is usually taken care of by their close circle for financial challenges. Where I'm focusing more the middle income bracket because they may be more susceptible per thousand letters that I send out to call for some immediate help
Right. Right.
over there. So I look for, like I use these lines where the X meet. So I'll look for the areas that are very nice, first time homeowners, but yet the medium income is moderate. Then I'll look for where they have at least 70% worth of equity, non-owner occupied. And then from there, the actual sellers are out of state. The actual sellers may be on the other side of the U.S.
Hmm.
and they may be just looking for a quick cash out because they own the property for a while.
Right. Good. Let's talk about the VAs now. Are they negotiating these things, getting them under contract? Or are they just asking some basic pre-screening questions, and then you have somebody that goes and meets the seller in the house? What are you doing there?
Well, I use the step called the two-step negotiating is what I use. And they help me out because they are actually doing the step one of negotiating. So step one of negotiating is they first look up the tax assessor's value of the property. And the person may state that I'm willing to sell this. Let's say, for example, the tax assessor's value, say the house is valued at 100,000. Here, it's usually, if the tax assessed value says 100,000, it's usually worth at least 50% more than that. So it may be worth 150 or more. If the person over the phone states, if the seller states to my VA that they're looking to sell and their first initial asking price is, let's just say, hypothetically speaking, 80,000, and we want to get down a little bit lower, the first step is to start asking them what type of work needs to be done on the property. And so they'll go through, use a VA script I provided, and ask them about the windows, the roof, the plumbing, the heating, flooring, a variety of things like that. Then they'll state, based upon the amount of work that they've figured out that needs to go into the property, we need to get a little bit less. Are they any flexible in the price? If the person isn't flexible in the price, then we move to the next one, because the person going to be hard on the price point. We need to be some room, because we know it's not enough room in there to begin with. So the person said that they're flexible on that price point and they go down a little bit, they pass the first step in negotiating. Then my VAs will send that lead over to me and let me know that the person initially came in at, say, 90,000, and they were able to get the person down to, say, 70. So the second phase of negotiating is to go out and verify that what they said didn't need work actually does not need work. And what they said do need work, it needs the amount that they stated. So if we go out there and let's say they said the windows were fine, and we go out there and realize that the windows are not fine, or that there is a leak in the roof and they said there wasn't, then we say, hey, this is the second part of negotiating. We give you a price point based upon the information that we stated on the phone. Now that we're out here, it looks like there's more work need to be done. And then that's when we use the second phase of negotiating.
Okay, so you still look at the house.
Correct.
Do your VAs ever just get the properties under contract over the phone?
We can get them to a price point, but we need to actually see the property before we're actually willing to commit to a price.
Okay. So who's going out and looking at the homes?
It varies. It may be myself, or I use what I call local VAs. I have individuals that are here that I've known and trust and who I've trained and gone through my programs where we'll split the fee, the wholesale fee, and they'll go out, look at the home, and place it under contract for me and send it back.
Okay, cool.
And that's when I'll use the Asana tool for that. They'll get the information. So they'll get the Asana task, which will have the property, the comps, and all the information in it that my VAs have acquired. And it'll be the next task will be for them to go out and meet the seller and to take pictures of it and upload those pictures to Asana along with the purchase contract.
Okay. Good, I understand. And again, those of you that missed our last call, we talked about Asana. It's ASANA.com. And that's a project management tool that Ken uses. But I think I've convinced him that he needs to start looking at Podio.
Yes, I think you have.
Because you can do all of that and get rid of your spreadsheets and use Podio to manage that. Okay, cool. So and I'm doing something similar right now actually too. I'm finding local wholesalers in various markets and I'm partnering with them. I'm giving them the leads that are pre-screened and they go look at the house, negotiate with the seller. Because, there's two places you make your money. On the phone, number one, and then number two, at the kitchen table with the seller, having a heart-to-heart, building some rapport, pushing their hot buttons, and negotiating. And so sometimes you need somebody who's really good at that,
right?
Who already been wholesaling a bunch of deals to be the one that goes, looks at the homes and negotiates and gets them under contract. Because those guys will oftentimes get a lower price accepted than what anybody else is offering because they just have a better relationship and more trust built with that seller.
Exactly.
So that's really important. Okay, now we're almost done here, and I wanted to talk with you a little bit about, you do a local mastermind in the Baltimore area. How does that work? What is that?
Well, that's great. I'm glad you asked. What that is a way in which individuals get together and we actually help them with their business one-on-one, let them know the latest things that are going on in the market. It's really important to be a part of individuals that are doing this at a high level. They say we are a reflection of our peer group. And you don't want to be the smartest person in the room. So we allow those who want to join the mastermind to come in and learn what's happening. Because one thing that's relevant in this market is that it's constantly changing. With all the social media platforms and the way sellers are engaging right now, it's completely different than it was about 10 or 15 years ago.
Okay.
So we also help them to make real estate fit their life. That's something that's really important. Sometimes I found that investors, they'll come and they may hear somebody talk about fixing and flipping, and they may love and buy into that investor's passion and love and success for it, but may not like anything that goes along with doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really important to find out what part in real estate fits you, what part fits your personality type. As you may mention, the person who goes and meet the seller and who was able to get the house at a lower price point, that's a certain personality type that I found in my experience. A person that loves meeting with people, is very good in communication, is very good in understanding what the seller wants and how to meet everyone's needs. That person loves that right there, and they'll do well at that and will make a lot of money. And I've found that others love working with title companies, love making sure all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed.
Who is that?
I know. So I look and I use my mastermind to actually break down, because in the beginning, they say, well, what is a wholesale? Or what is a buy and hold? What do you do? So kind of understanding what's involved in each one and how to make it tailored to fit your life.
You partner with these guys as well, don't you?
Oh, yeah, we do. I partner with them to the point to where I tie their success with me,
How does
meaning that,
That's what I was really interested in.
yeah, oh, okay.
Let's talk about how do you make money with a group like that? I mean,
Right, right,
you
right.
don't just get together to feel good and scratch each other's back.
We'll get together and go roast marshmallows
No.
and sing Coca-Cola songs like, oh, life is great.
Right, right.
No, what they actually get to do is they actually get to use my team.
Okay.
They actually get to use my VAs, to use my proven system that's working, so that way they can learn how it works, have someone walk them through the deal, have someone work with them when calling the seller. Sometimes I've actually put them on the phone and have them on mute while I'll call and negotiate with the seller so they can hear and understand what's going on
Mm-hmm.
with the seller. I'll go with them. They can come with me as we go put the house under contract so they can find out what's involved in the contract. What are the points that we must point out? What is our escape clause?
Yeah.
They also work with them to help get the house sold before you buy it, meaning that networking with buyers, keeping your buyers list warm, engaging with them. That way we know what they're looking for. Actually, at one of the mastermind meetings, we had a house that was bought and sold during the mastermind meeting with some students that had worked with me previously. I showed them the text messages, and they were saying, hey, we went to the house and got on the contract. And we already had identified a buyer.
Nice.
And so they get to see this. So they was like, wow, this is going on right now. And I said, yes. And the key is, where am I at right now?
Mm-hmm.
I'm here with you. Now I'm giving away 50% of my profits, but I don't mind that. I'm here with you, sharing with you how these deals take place, and somebody else is leveraging my system to get 50% of the profits that we're going to split.
Now I imagine they're paying for the marketing though, right?
I actually go 50-50 with them on the marketing.
Wow. Okay. So
Right.
you go 50-50 with them on the marketing.
I do.
Your team pre-screens the leads.
Mm-hmm.
And any net profits after that. Well, the partner that you're working with, they'll be the one that looks at the house, right?
Correct.
Okay.
It could be either themselves, or someone in my team.
All right. So then whatever the net profits are after your expenses, you split that 50-50.
Correct.
Okay, interesting.
So they get a jump start, and they see that I bought into them, and I've actually put my money where my mouth is, because I'm going on in them 50-50 with the marketing.
Okay. Now, do you charge any, if you don't mind me asking, do you charge upfront fees for this kind of a coaching partnering program, or how do you do that?
Yes, I do charge an upfront fee for this kind of coaching program, and it ranges anywhere from $3,500 to $8,000.
Okay.
Depending upon how much involvement they want. So they'll pay an upfront fee, and sometimes someone will say, well, hey, can I just pay you through the deal? And I'll express to them, it doesn't really work that way, because at the end of the day, they're getting my time.
Mm-hmm.
And that is some value to that.
Right.
The
When
money
you
that
when
I
you
pay
get on the bus, when do you pay the bus driver?
exactly when you get on, not when you get off. Say, hey, let me go to work and then come back and then pay you.
Well, that's so important because I get asked that a lot as well. And you could spend a lot of time with somebody and invest a lot of your valuable time that's taken away from your business, from your family,
Hmm.
to spend with them and teach them how to do the business. And they could learn all this great stuff, say thank you, and never do anything with it, and never partner on you with any deals. So
Exactly.
yeah, you got to value your time more than that.
That's true. Yeah, exactly. And that's how they show some commitment. They show they're committed and value my time, and I'm committed and value their time as well. And so they show that by that initial payment, and then the rest of the profit, the rest of the operating costs we split as well as the profit.
Very nice. And that's so cool. You've got the team in place. They can just kind
Mhm.
of piggyback on that.
Right. They go from like 0 to 60 in like a matter of seconds because they get to use an already system that's been vetted, that's proven, that's closing deals, that's working right now. They get to use these systems in place. It took me a long time to build up to where I'm at right now. I've been in this business for about 12 years.
Uh-huh.
So, and this has been 12 years of me working a lot of hours to really master my craft.
Uh-huh.
And so they're able to leverage the tools that I personally use to close deals on my own.
Do you mainly just work with people in the Baltimore area?
Oh no, I work with people all over. Because my VAs can, with Call Fire, we can get a number in a different state,
Nice.
and my VAs can actually make the phone call in a different state. We've done deals in Alabama, we've done deals in Pennsylvania. We can do deals in any state.
Very nice. Cool. Well, Ken, you're a genuine guy.
Thanks, thank you, I appreciate that.
I
It's
love,
like you.
as am I. I love the story you told at the last episode of coming from the School of Hard Knocks,
Oh,
and that's awesome. It's an inspiring story. I have a coaching client that Todd Toback and I worked with.
hmm
He was homeless, living out of a car, and didn't have two pennies to rub together. And we taught him a little bit, and he started just going to the library. This is how hungry he was. He would
mm,
just go. He would go to the library, and he was contacting sellers and landlords on Craigslist. And
mm,
he would use friends' cell phones, or he would use pay phones to call sellers and
mm.
get these things under contract. And then he had a car, so he'd go look at the house and meet with them. But after about 4 or 5 months of working with him, he was able to get his own apartment, able to get a nicer car, and
Mm.
get some furniture, you know. And
Wow.
this guy was so awesome to see. He
Right.
went from living in a car to making a good $4,000 to $5,000 a month just by he was actually flipping. I won't go into all the details, but he was flipping leases, just flipping
Okay.
rentals and finding tenants, and then doing some regular wholesaling as well. But yeah, I love hearing those stories.
Yeah, Joe, it's those stories, those experiences. To me, those are what fuel. Those what fuel me.
Uh-huh.
We're going to always experience challenges. I mean, even in it didn't end with what I experienced in high school. I didn't go into as I was leaving my government career to go into being an investor. I can't say what job I did for the government, but it was classified and it was very secure.
Yeah.
And when I decided to go be an investor, one thing many people don't talk about is I was actually going through a divorce at the same time,
Oh,
which was very hard for me emotionally.
yeah.
And I had a new born, my youngest daughter was on the way as well.
Oh,
So what I would just want to express is that there will always be a reason why not to do something. But the passion, the drive in us the why has to be bigger because answers come from your why.
yeah.
Answers come from your desire. When you want something bad enough, there is no reason why you can't achieve it. You find a reason. And I've found that when you move in a certain way and move in a certain direction with a certain determination, obstacles get out of your way
Uh-huh.
because there's no place for them. You don't even get to see them. When you're so focused on what you want, things that don't fit into that, you end up missing them. They just become blind to you. You don't see them
Right,
anymore.
right.
So that's what I put into what it is that I do. I love the fact that um, before I used to be able to tell people, Joe, I could say, hey, um, I can help you get a good job. And that made me feel good. Now I can tell people, I can show you how to fire your boss. I can show you how to change, change the income of your family forever.
Hmm.
That's meaningful to me right there.
Yeah, you're making a difference.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Paying it forward.
Exactly. That's what it's all about. At the end of the day, that's to me, that's what it's all about. It's about doing goodwill, doing good work, helping others, to
Yep.
do that. That's to me what it's all about. Creating people, true freedom.
Well, good, Ken. Really awesome. Alex just texted me. The
Hell yeah.
seller, yeah, the seller had to reschedule,
Oh,
and so
yeah.
I'm going to text him back here. She
Okay.
probably has another 5 investors
Mm.
scheduled to look at the house before you.
Yeah, exactly. That's how it goes. And so the game begins.
Yeah, so she had to reschedule to 3 o'clock today, and
Well,
just,
that's good. It gives them a chance to come in after everybody else to put in their bed.
he texted me back, "Don't tell me that." All right, well, Ken, that website again. Well, he's texting me back. He says, "But that's not the case. I know that for sure." Wow, we'll see.
Okay, well, all right, good.
Ken, Ken, your website, people want to get a hold of you is realsuccessunlimited.com/outsource. Is that right?
Correct. Yes, sir. realsuccessunlimited.com/outsource. And there they'll be able to find out ways to get in contact with me. They'll be able to listen to myself and my VA discuss deals that we are currently working on. They'll get for free a copy of my call sheet that my VA use to screen and analyze sellers over the phone, and other variety of tools that can help them start their business today.
Awesome. Okay, Ken, thank you very much, guys. If you want the show notes of this call, if you want to get our Fast Cash Survival Kit, all that good juicy stuff, go to realestateinvestingmastery.com, realestateinvestingmastery.com. And if you like the show, if you like what we've talked about with Kenneth, please leave a review on iTunes. The more reviews you leave, the more other people can hear about and find out about this show. Thanks again, Ken. We'll talk to you later, okay?
Great. Thank you, Jill. Have a beautiful day.